Okay, so we're back. If you've been watching time lapses, you will see that we are now uh, pretty well into the body. And the last time lapse, I modeled out the arms, and then I gave her different hands than the hands that she came with. And the reason being, so let's take this and this. So I added on a different hand. The reason being that the hand that she came with is not split up very nice in the fingers. And then the hand from the other scan, let's see. The hand from the other scan is a lot nicer. The fingers are separated, and it's going to work a lot better. Okay, so again, I'm just sort of mixing and matching between these two scans here. I use this head, I use this chest, and now I'm using the hand. And I think by the time I get down to the feet, because as you can see again here, not as much detail as I would like. So I will probably be taking possibly these feet, or I may just model them freehand. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So that is where we are right now. We have a finger. And you can see I've started to add a little bit of detail in there. So what I think I'm going to do for this video is, excuse me, is go over the modeling of a finger, just in case that is something that you would like to know more about. We're going to go over that. So I'm going to show the hand. Let's just hide the body here. And let's hide that other scan. There we go. So what I'm going to do, I use QuadDraw to help me do this finger really quickly. So what I'm going to do the same thing I did for the index finger. I'm going to start with a cylinder. So create a cylinder. I like to default. In fact, I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to go to Create, Polygon Primitives, and Cylinder. I like my default to be 8 because that is a nice low number of sides that I can use as a good starting point for things like fingers. If you have it at 20, you're starting out with a lot of geometry in it, and it just tends to bog me down having that much geometry right at the beginning. So I like to start out at 8. It's a nice low even number, and it works very well. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to go into face mode and get rid of the caps. Okay, so we just have a hollow cylinder, and then I'm going to make my hand live, and I'm going to bring this down here and just position it roughly where this finger is. Now, what I want to make sure I do is have a center line running up the finger. So if I'm looking down at the finger this way, you'll see that the finger it has a plane that's sort of this way. If you look at my z-axis line here, the finger plane is kind of running that way. So make sure that you get that right. The fingers don't all exist on the same plane. If you look down the fingers, they sort of fan out as you go from finger to finger. So you should definitely keep that in mind when you do this. Okay, and then we just get to rotate it. Just get it somewhat close. And again, we just want to make sure that that center line is in the right place. One slight issue here is that because this was scanned off a real person, the fingers are not really that straight, which is normal. But with 3D modeling, I like to make my fingers straight, just because it allows the rigger to have a bit of an easier time rigging those fingers. And it allows the rigger to set it up so that if you do want to have the fingers be not perfectly straight, that you can do that with the rig versus having it modeled into the character. But in this case, I'm going to just deal with it. I'm going to let it go and just have her with slightly bent fingers when I go to rig the character. You know, it might be a pain in the butt, but that's all right. It's not a horrible thing. So, you know, get it somewhat close. I think I'm just gonna do the span between knuckles here. Now there's two ways you could get it to stick to the live model. You can do what I just did. When you start to move, it'll stick. Okay, so right there we've got it to stick. The other way is if you had a lot of geometry, you don't want to do it that way. The other way is to go under mesh and do a conform, just like we did with the breast. We can do a conform like that, and you can see that it is now conformed to the mesh here. And now my computer is locked up. Just give it a second here. Oh, there we go. You know, while I'm here, let me hide that mesh. So there we go. I'm going to delete my history on that finger piece. Delete by type history, and then I'm going to turn history off. I really don't need history when I'm doing this, because all it does is really just bog my system down. And we're still kind of bogging down here. Not really sure what the problem is, but yeah, I think we're okay now. Okay, so now we can go into our quad draw, and my quad draw is green. It's just I change the color at some point. I like to switch up colors every now and again, just because it makes it interesting for me, because I get bored a little easily. So, you know, doing things like changing color and stuff is just, if it looks different to my brain, then I don't get bored. But anyway, so we're just gonna trace out that knuckle area right there. Okay, and then we're gonna bring this right up into this area here. Oh. Undo that, and my computer's acting funny today. Okay, there we go. There. So yeah, my computer will act crazy every now and again. Something is just bogging my system down here. So hopefully it'll stop here soon. Well, you know what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna stop the recording here and try to figure it out, and I'll be back. Alright, I think I fixed it. It turns out it was my mouse that was starting to act crazy, and so I plugged in a different mouse, and here we go. Okay, so back to business. Just moving up the finger here. Just gonna keep things very low res right now. Just trace out where the knuckles are. I'm not trying to detail anything at this point. So just figure out where that finger would bend, and just lay it out there. Okay, now this is the top of the finger here, so if I extrude this about here, I guess, somewhere. And then extrude this. Okay. And then extrude this here. And this here. And then I can pull more. Oops, and it's always a pain in the butt when the vertex is underneath the face. Of course, I can just set it to vertex mode, and does that make a difference? Yeah, I guess so. All right, so just laying it out right now, not trying to get overly detailed. So if I get out of quad draw here, and let's isolate this one. You'll see what I do here is because you can see how much geometry is coming out of this finger, and the hand beyond the fingers usually does not need anywhere near this much geometry. As you can imagine, there's 5 fingers, well, 4 fingers and a thumb, and all this detail coming out of those 4 fingers and the thumb into the hand is just way more geometry than the hand needs. So what I like to do is, have this geometry come up like this and then turn this edge loop and send it back. And the same with this inner one here. Okay, so that will reduce the number of edges going out from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 3. So 1, 2, 3 versus 5 of them. So we're trying really hard to reduce how much geometry is heading out into the hand, because up in the palm and the upper hand here, you don't really need nearly as much geometry. So just keeping that in mind. All right, so let's go back here. So the way that let's finish up here. So let's go down the finger here. And I'm just going to go right to the end of the finger. And do the same on this one. Just make it look nice. And, you can see that it's not really sitting on where it should be sitting. But it's okay for right now. We will fix that as we go. So now we pull this out. Okay. And then we can connect these two here. Okay, so we've got the tip of the finger there. Maybe if I pull this up, yeah, there we go, something like that. Okay, then because I have this edge loop coming from in there, what I'm going to do is just split this with my quad draw, that is control and middle mouse click to have it cut it perfectly down the center, and I might start to move this back here. Let's get the curve of that fingertip going here, as you can see, and maybe we move this down too. Okay, and then we can take these two and merge them there. And middle mouse and tab to extrude the old edge loop. So there we go. Then I'm just going to cut in something here above the fingernail point there. And then I might also cut in something right through the fingernail, just to start to shape this fingertip a little bit better. Okay. So don't worry about getting too detailed right now. We're going to clean things up and make things look nice. Right now we're just laying it out. Then just to define the under, the pad, the pad underneath the finger here, I'm just going to split that, and let's do one here as well. Okay. And then let's see. Now there's two ways that you can handle the fingernail. One, we can do it now, or we can wait till we add more geometry and do it then. I think I'm going to add this geometry in here, so I'm just going to control middle mouse click to split those, and I'm going to do the same along the sides as well. But right now, let me just see where I am. Just adjust things where needed. Maybe pull this out. Now the bed of the fingernail is not as far out as the fingernail itself, so I'm just going to move that back. And then let's cut across here, and we can just move this. Okay. So fingernail, I am going to get out of quad draw for that, and then I'm going to isolate that. So the fingernails, generally, I just take these polygons here and do an extrude like that. And then also, let me turn off live. Push it down and up. And sometimes I'll even rotate it just to flatten this section out here. Although that might be too much there. Something like that. In fact, we can even go in under here, because that fingernail is going to be growing from underneath there. Then we can take this and just slide it down a little bit and just fix that up there. Go down here. Start to really define that fingernail bed. Pull this out and maybe scale it out a little bit. And maybe scale that out there as well. Okay, go back to face mode. Select those same faces that we extruded. And we're just going to extrude them out like this. And we may have to pull this out here and here just to start to shape that, and over here as well. Okay. And then to have the actual overhanging fingernail, we are going to extrude down. And, just depending on, here, let me bring this back. Try to follow this. Kind of close. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm going to pull this part out here. Maybe not so far. Pull this one out a little bit. Then bring this back in here. Try to line it up with the actual fingernail. Same thing on this side. Just bring it back and try to line it up there. And just adjust. And then the upper section, actually let me go here, isolate this, because this is very straight right now, and it really shouldn't be. It should be more rounded. So I'm going to take this Let's look through here and make sure that we have what we want. You know, I might just go through and take all that and just curl this down to here. And that's going to need some adjusting, but for right now, that's okay. Take the next ones and bring those down. We're trying to just get that nice curve to our fingernail. Okay. And I'm just going to select on this side and then bring it out of isolation mode and just, you know, try to get that curve to match up with the 3D scan. You might get this point here looking like it's showing through. Just knock it back in there if it is. All right, so let's pull this out here and let's move this down this way a little bit more so it's not so bulging out. There we go. Okay, so let's see what that wrong one. There. See what that looks like. So that's what we have so far. That's not bad. Let's go in here and just find that point and just move it in so that the fingernail, if I go here, will actually, no, that's not the right point, is it? Well, let's see. That kind of works. Still not. I think it still needs to be a little bit more rounded here. All right, so that's a good start. Let's move this back just a little bit. And we have to take this and just move it in a little bit like that. And how much time and detail you put into the fingernails is going to depend entirely on really how close, if you're doing this for some kind of animation, how close is the camera going to get to the hands? Do they really need to be super perfect? And that, you know, that's what's going to dictate that for you. For me, this is probably going to be good enough. So I don't want to spend forever on this. But I think I'm gonna, at least for right now, let's go with that. All right, let's go back to making that live and quad draw this. All right. So continuing up, and if you want to be able to see your mesh underneath, if you open up the live constraint options, you have a mesh alpha. If you turn this way down, it'll make it completely transparent if that's what you need. And so I'm going to do that because we got this nice sort of bulging finger pad here. So I'm going to cut there so that it comes in, and then just do some adjustments real quick. And cut there. Okay. So maybe now it's time to define that knuckle. So I'm going to try to position my finger in as much of a side view as I can. Okay, and I'm going to take my quad draw, I'm sorry, multi-cut, and I'm going to click outside of the mesh, and I'm going to drag out this way. Now you'll notice that I'm going at an angle because I want, and why did that not cut? Oh, I have faces selected for some reason. So let's go back, multi-cut. So I'm going to click it here, and as I go to the top of the finger, I'm going to fan outward. That's going to give me that nice fan shape to this joint area. Do the same thing here. Okay, and then just go back in quad draw and just make some adjustments. Okay, because the way the fingers bend, they bend down this way, so I like there to be geometry that's sort of fanned out like that. I find that for me it gives me the best ability to bend. And yeah, I could actually pull this out here just to define that wider section of that top of the knuckle. And then also just start to move it out here. We're just going to shape this knuckle. Okay, and maybe here we have it a little bit too close. And then just to really give it a lot of geometry to latch onto, I'm just going to cut those in there and then make some adjustments. Okay, so we have given this joint area plenty of geometry with which to create a nice bend. Should have no problems with that at all in this section. So now we can do the same here. So I'm going to get my multi-cut, and again click outside and drag like that. And this side is going to be a little bit tricky, so let's just something like that. There we go. So let's get back in quad draw. And just make some minor adjustments. Okay. And maybe move this out. Make that rounded section here. And then again, just to give enough geometry here, I'm going to split these here as well. Okay, so again, we have some nice geometry in there. Here, I'll split this here and here just to give some nice geometry there. And then now we can think about splitting these sides as well, just to get this finger fully realized here. And what I'm finding out, I don't know if you looked in the time lapse, usually when I make hands by freehand modeling them, I will make one finger and then just duplicate it off to get the rest of the fingers. In this case, I tried that by modeling this first finger and then taking that geometry and trying to sort of conform it to the scan, but I wasn't getting the best results, so I just decided to go ahead and just model it again, which, yeah, is not the most efficient way to go about it, but it's fine. All right, so I'm going to start to define this knuckle. Okay, so I'm going to extrude these out here. And actually, you know what? I might extrude 4 out. Then I can pull these back like this and then extrude out from here and here and then merge here and here. So you see how now I have taken this loop here and just turned around and sent it back into the finger. Okay, so that's just less geometry that's going out into the hand, because again, this area of the hand here does not need all that. Okay, and generally what's coming out of the wrist from the arm is nowhere near as dense as what's coming out of the fingers. So you have to, get kind of creative in how you are going to connect those two. because I don't model my hands from the wrist down. I will model up to the wrist, and then I will begin from the fingers up. Now that's just my preference. If you do it from the wrist and just model straight down into the fingers and the hand, then that's fine. You probably have an easier time getting things to line up and match up perfectly. For me, I find that if I do it this way, I get much better. I get the finger geometry that I want. I don't have to, sort of sacrifice anything because I'm coming in from the wrist. Okay, so then here I'll just cut across here, just bulge this out here. And then maybe for now I'll just cut there. So you can start to see the shape that we're getting here. And I'm going to bring this back up to, what was it, 0.75. Okay, so you can really start to see that. Now this would be a good time to combine the two fingers. So let's do that now. So I'm gonna get out of Quad Draw there, and I'm going to take these two fingers and isolate them. Okay, then I'm going to go to Combine to make them one image, and I'm just going to put the same map on there just to get them similar. Okay, so as you can see, this edge loop here should connect to this edge loop here. That's the other thing you should notice, that knuckles don't all exist on the same plane. If I go here and select this and make it not live, you'll see that the index knuckle is lower down than the middle finger knuckle, and the ring finger knuckles is lower than that, and then the pinky. So they don't all sit on a flat plane. They sort of come up and then go down. Okay, these are the kind of things that you need to pay attention to if you want to get the details right. And then you'll notice that we have webbing in our fingers. So what I see a lot of students doing is starting out with a cube, basically just a flat cube for the palm section with 5 polygons on the front that they just extrude fingers from. And then their knuckles are right there where the fingers sort of pop out from the cube. And that's not really correct. You'll see that my knuckles are, if you look at the webbing here, my knuckles are further back than that webbing. Okay, so this is very important, that the knuckles are way back here, and the webbing, we start like at the knuckle level and we sort of slope down to the webbing down at the bottom here for the underside of the palm. So you need to pay attention to that when you model these. Okay, all right, so back to the fingers. So what we need to do is connect these pieces here. So I'm just going to turn on Quad Draw here and then just use that to merge these together. Okay, and then, oh, did I not get it? There we go. All right, so, and you have to be very careful in how you merge, because it's very easy to merge the wrong edge. Like this edge should not merge with this. It should be this one. So if let's see, do I want to take this here? And then this one will go down here if I'm doing it right. Am I doing it right? Let's see. So if I pull this over here, yeah, I think that is about right. So I'm going to go back into live mode here and just pull this back a little bit. Okay. So we've created a nice connection between those fingers. Maybe just straighten out our edge loops here so they're not so jagged. Okay, so now what we can do, because again, we don't want to send weight. We don't want to send too much geometry down to the palm there. What we can do, and let's just do this so it's visible here. What we can do is just bring one of these two back here. And in doing that, we can then pull these out. So just like we did here, we can do this and basically reduce the geometry going into the hand again. So we have that here, here, and here. So now we don't have anywhere near as much geometry. And so I'm gonna just start to expand this out. Right now I'm not too worried about that. I'm just laying it out, just paying attention, because all there's bones underneath inside the hand here that you could actually see them in the 3D scan. So I'm trying to follow those. But for right now, I'm not really going to get much into this. I just wanted to lay it out a little bit. So here, if we're talking about the webbing of the finger, I'm going to take this and just pull it out, connect it there, and connect this one there. And let's do the same thing again. Let's pull this out, and again, to extrude like that is a tab and the middle mouse button. So now we're starting to really define this webbing. And again, let's just pull this out to here. And we don't want to merge this down here like this. What we're going to do is pull this out here. And let me think. Do I want to do that? I think I have the wrong geometry here. So I'm going to, and I just found this out. If you hover your mouse over an edge, it'll highlight. And then you hit delete, you can just delete it, because I think I added that edge there by mistake. So basically this should be merged down here and here. Is that right? Let's see. There to there. Here. Let's just adjust this. So you can see how it's easy to get lost in the fingers. So we need to be careful with that. I think, wait, where's the center? Center's here, then 1, 2, 3. Center's here, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so I'm just going to delete that just to help me visualize it a little bit better. Okay, so let's just move this back up here. Whoa. And again, this can get confusing because these fingers are not on the same level. So this middle finger is going to be higher up than your index finger. So you may be tempted to connect the wrong things. So here again, I'm going to extrude this out, and let's connect this here and here. Yeah, I think that's how we did it on the top. Or, I don't know, let's undo that. Let's do some experimentation here. What if I went like this? Maybe that'll work a little bit nicer. Then I'd have to do the same on this side. Okay, so let's make this section for this finger here. So again, I'm going to start with these middle ones here, and just like I did on the top where I'm turning around the edges so I don't have to put them through the whole hand, I'm going to do the same thing here. And let's pull this out and this out. Okay, I got some straightening out to do over here. And you know, we can always use the relax brush. If I can go ahead and do that right now, just to straighten things out and make it look nice. Okay. Okay, so back here. So again, it's just a matter of taking these, moving them back, and then extruding out this way, and then merging the points there. Okay, and I may have to bring this out. And it's convenient because the palm of the hand it's almost like padding right where the fingers come out there. And so this geometry here works really nice for that. And let's cut this here. And now we can connect this to this. So again, just be sure that you're connecting matching edge loops from finger to finger. Okay, and then we can extrude this up. And yeah, I believe I need to cut in some more here, so I don't connect it directly. And then let's take this, connect it there. All right. And then we can now connect here, and we have the correct edge loops running across. And I'm just adjusting. Okay, so that's what we have. And you know, we can do the same thing here if we want. Just pull this out. I'm just going to over pull it and then bring it back here and in here. Okay, so let's have a look at that and see what it looks like. So if we smooth it out, we have our two fingers, and you can see that they connect pretty well. Okay, obviously they're not very detailed. Now, what I did with this one here to get those creases is, and before I do that, let me hit this with the relax brush. Just I don't want to over smooth this section here. Okay. And I might actually get my multi-cut tool and split this here. Maybe one here and one here. And let me, as my tool settings, okay. So the multi-cut has messed up a little bit of my geometry here, so we can just fix that real fast. Just grab the points and move them, and just be careful how you move them. So I'm just gonna relax this a little bit, take the tension out of it. Fix that. And yeah, you got to be real careful because it's wanting to go all over the place. So let's just fix that up. And if if the quad draw won't behave, you can always just leave it for later, and you can pull things out the way that you want, just freehand. Okay, so for now, see, that's starting to look a little crazy, so I'm just gonna get out of quad draw and turn off live and fix this up by hand here. Pick this up. Okay, so don't feel like you have to just stay in quad draw. You can get out of there anytime. This is, there we go. You can get out there anytime and go touch things up as needed. And then I think what I did for the other finger was I took my multi-cut tool and just cut an edge loop here around the edge of the finger bed. And the reason I did that was so I could then take this and just move it upward to give a little nicer geometry in there. So one thing to note is that once you start moving stuff away off of the live mesh, excuse me, then don't mess with it in quad draw anymore, because it'll try to stick back to the mesh and get messed up again. So once you've played with it outside of quad draw and it's no longer sitting on the mesh, then you probably don't want to mess with it again. All right. So let's go back to live on the hand. It's quad draw. So I need to smooth some of this stuff out here. And I like to get an even geometry distribution here. So I will cut in geometry as needed. So let's just paint this and even it out with our relax brush. Okay. Tip of the finger, and again, because I adjusted the fingernails, I'm going to try to stay away from it. So let's just smooth this out, make it look nice. Okay. And yeah. And see how that starts to look really even and nice in there. Okay, so just touch up. The relax tool is really nice. It can make the geometry look pretty good. And let's just straighten these edge loops here and here. And as you can see, I put in extra edge loops in here because that is a bend point. So I might put in 2. And in quad draw, I'm just going to move these up here. Let's get it to bend well in there. Just relax this. Okay. And just continue to relax. Okay. So again, back to getting the creases in there. So the way that I do this, and I like to get out of quad draw and get out of live. So I will try to be as random as possible with this. Let me move this. And again, once we do this, you don't want to go in and mess with this anymore in quad draw on the live mesh, because it'll try to conform back to the live mesh and mess it up. So I take my multi-cut tool and I start cutting from one point and just cut this really thin strip of polygons here, and then say I want to end it there. Then what I'll do from there is just with control middle mouse click to cut an edge loop into that little space. So what that's going to do is going to give me the ability to then double click this edge loop here, convert it to vertices. And the other way to convert to vertices is where is that? Well, if you hold on control and right click and then go to vertices right there. And then what I need to do, I'm going to double click my move tool, and axis orientation, I'm going to choose the normal. So you'll see that the N is the highlighted axis. That's our normal axis. So if I just middle mouse click anywhere to the left or to the right, it's going to move those points in along the normal. Okay, so that'll just give me a nice little crease right there. And if I look at it, there it is. Okay, so I tend to just go in and do a bunch of those, try to make them not look, even. So I might start the next one way up here, run it through to maybe here, enter, and then middle mouse click to cut that in. And I'll just do a few here. Start this one here. And we'll make that one in there. Do that. And this is generally how I will do creases. Cut there. And split that one. And let's do one that starts here. Do this, make a small one here. Now if it's too small, sometimes it doesn't look good, but we'll see. Okay, so say you're happy with those. I'm just gonna double click all these inner edge loops here, convert them to vertices on the normal, just push them into the mesh, and that's what we get. Okay, so that's one way to do it. So now we're starting to get our fingers going. As you can tell, it's going to be a long process, just because I am modeling off of the real the 3D scanned fingers. Like I said, usually what I'll do is I'll make one and then duplicate it, scale it up and down depending on the finger size, and position them, and then just connect them and go that way. But with this, looks like I'm just going to just go through and do it one by one. So if we show the rest of our mesh here, you can start to see the hand shaping up there. And we can connect the hand to the body now if we want. Just do a combine, select them and just go to combine. And now they are part of the same object. But the reason I don't do that is just for the resources of my computer. That way I'm not showing the whole mesh if I don't have to. As soon as I get the hand done, then I will connect it. and hopefully it won't be too hard to do. I don't think it will, but we'll see. So yeah, that is how I do, and I seem to have lost my shader, so I'm just going to put it back, and it didn't go back. Okay. And and when you're done using that normal mode on the move tool, make sure you set it back to object or whatever you had before, because it's going to annoy you when you try to select stuff and you don't get the manipulator. Now let me see why this guy won't take a shader. Huh, that was weird. Okay. Well, there it is. So there we go. I think at this point I will go back to time lapse, and we can finish up the hand and then start going down the leg. I still have some stuff to fix in here, and I actually have a lot of stuff to fix, but at this point I'm just trying to get the model mostly fleshed out so I can see the whole thing, and then I will go in and try to refine some of this stuff. Okay, so thanks for watching. Please feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we will get onto the time lapse right about now.